Hi guys, I'm Dan at vintagevelo.org and today we are setting up a vintage bike. Now let's say you've just bought yourself a little bit of a treat, you've splashed out, you've got a nice old vintage bike arrived in the post for you, you've unboxed it, you've put it together and you need to set that up to really get the most out of it. Now I've got to be honest here, a lot of the time, you know, even when you spring really good money on a bike, it often arrives, you know, put together but not really what I would describe as rideable, and certainly not set how I would like it, but obviously that's personal taste. But for example, not that long ago I unwrapped this beauty. Now it's a 1995 Pinarello Dyna. It's a Banesto team bike. It's the real deal. You saw it briefly in the doping video, and this one was ridden in the 1995 season by Jose Jimenez, a Spanish rider with the Spanish Banesto team. Now I've been after one of these, a real one, for some time. I almost gave up and went for a replica, but then this came up and I thought, yes, that is the one for me. However, Jimenez is a small guy, I'm a big guy, and making this thing fit me will be a little bit of a challenge. But things I have to check first. Now, although I've ridden this, I checked it beforehand. Before you ride any vintage bike, you need to thoroughly check your frame for any cracks, especially around the joints, around the head tube area, any lumps or dimples around this area that might signify a frontal collision. Check those forks carefully, and just all around the world areas and anywhere else, just give it a good look over. You're looking for small cracks. Wrench it around a little bit, see if anything's moving, clicking or playing around where it shouldn't be. Any of those things, don't ride it until you've had it professionally checked. Now this frame is excellent, couple of little dings and obviously marks where I would expect it, but it was perfectly rideable. Now there were certain things I know from riding this that I'm going to have to change in the setup. It doesn't really need servicing. It's in remarkably good condition, and all of the cables are really good. The chain's really good, just need a nice lube on that. But things straight away I know I have to change. The straight cut horrendous, I think that's a 15 to 21 or 14 to 21 cassette on the back there. That will destroy my knees in literally a few rides. So I've got a very nice, I think it's a 1224 a Super Record 9 to go on there, so we'll just swap that out. It's a like-for-like swap, and Jimenez would have done that in period at time as well, so there's nothing up with that. Also, the stem here is very, very short. I've got exactly the same ITM black stem in 120, so I'm going to swap that stem over shortly just to get my reach a bit more. So what we'll do shortly, we're going to check this for stack and reach, so as I know that it's going to fit me quite nicely. There's always a few tweaks after you've done that, always is, but that needs doing. Also, when I check this bike over, now we have on here, these are original team wheels. These are Bora 1 Campagnolos, the original first edition Boras. Now at the time, back in 95, these were only been out about a year or so, and they were really rare. Most of the time they would have been riding one of either Campagnolo Shimals or the lightweight electrons, that kind of thing. But now and again you do see these often in time trials and flat road stages, because they are very light and of course aerodynamic. However, one thing I would say, now I've got the later Bora ones and they are an epically good set of wheels, and I can recommend them to anyone. I've never had an issue with them at all. They are just superb. However, these are definitely not the stiffest wheel in the world, which is why I think most of the time they probably went with the deep dish Shimal wheels rather than Boras. But these are a very, very rare wheel set. We'll be keeping them on the bike because they are a team edition set of wheels. Also, they have the original team edition Hutchinson tubs on here. Now, that's kind of great, but kind of bad. The reason for this is pretty simple. If you've got old tyres, they go hard over time. I can feel these, and you just push your thumb over it, and you can feel now the back still got a bit of life in it, but it's quite hard. The front, yeah, that really hasn't got any kind of rubbery tack to it whatsoever. So the front tyre is solid, hard, and if it was just a wall hanger, no problem at all. But I want to ride this, I want to ride it hard. So we're going to swap the tyres out for some nice fresh new Veloflex Corsa service course tubular tyres on here. No messing around. I know they're a great tyre, and the last thing I want to do is fall off. And the tyre is your main reason for keeping you upright on the ground. So I'll be just swapping these out. I won't get rid of them. I'll keep them and I'll put them to one side and I'll keep them with the bike. Because they are kind of historically important. But if you have got yourself a vintage bike and you're setting it up for the first time, don't mess around with these kind of old tyres. If they don't feel good and fresh, change them. Okay, it's just not worth taking the risk. I know also on here the headset is very lovely and smooth. It's also a rare PMP headset, and I notice on the back here as well the seat post is also a PMP item. Now they often say that it's a Pinarello branded one, and they often say these are Campagnolo. That's not a Campagnolo titanium seat post. That is a PMP seat post branded as Pinarello. Very cool. And I believe the bottom bracket as well is PMP. Now, PMP back in the day, they were pioneers of lightweight fittings technology using a lot of titanium and lightweight parts. Super Record 9, absolutely fantastic. Really great. My favourite group set ever, but I'll be fascinated to see how this bike weighs and goes and feels combined with some of these PMP parts. It's something I've been dying to test out, so that's going to be really cool. One thing I did notice on my test ride was that I only have 6 of the 9 rear speeds available to me, and I'm pretty certain a quick check showed me straight away that down here this cable has pulled through, the cable housing has pulled through. That will have changed how this indexing will work and set up. It's basically pulled it through, so this is too short, and that's kind of messed that up. So we're going to have to change this and sort this area here out, re-index the gears. So the plan is wheels off, change onto new tubs, change this rear cassette, sort this bit here out, and then we're going to change the stem as well, and then set the stacker reach and take it from there. That's the cassette swapped out. Handy by the time 9-speed comes along. It's a simple cassette. Just put the lock ring in there, undo that, and then away you go, and you can swap that out. I've changed the whole cassette because it made sense, and that way I've got a nice range. Now, tubs. I'll show you now. There's not, to be fair, a lot holding these things on. If I do that, you can see the glue. Yeah, that's well and truly perished, hasn't it? Yeah, I rode that for a little bit. Yeah, a bit worrying, but there we go. So we're going to use tape, double-sided Jantex tape to hold the new tubs on. But yeah, there wasn't a lot holding that together. It did occur to me that we haven't talked much about fitting tubular tyres onto rims. It's something I do a lot of. Some people are a bit scared of it. It really isn't a complicated process. As I mentioned, I like to use this Jantex tape, tubular tape. It's a very strong, sticky, double-sided tape. So I don't glue them on. I effectively double-sided tape them on. And what you do with that, it comes in a roll. You start off at your hole, you take it around, and then you really work it on there, get it on there nice and tight, but you leave the sticky one side still with the cover tape on there, and then you roll your tub on. It's not like a clincher, it's tight, but it's not crazy tight, and it will just pop on, so you can move that around, and then it hasn't got any air in yet. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to pop a little bit of air in, not a lot, just to get it so as it's sitting correctly. Okay, that's all the air I want in there at the moment. It's just enough for the tub to take form. And inside one of these, all you've got is pretty much a regular inner tube that is then sewn into a carcass. On these, it's a very fine carcass on a Vela flexor like this. I think it's about 320 threads per inch is the count, and it's a very supple thing. And then you've got a little bit of rubber that's then formed on the outer edge, and you've got a reinforcement that goes up against the rim itself, and I can see that here going around there. And what I'm looking for is just to make sure that that's sat in there nice and evenly, and that one has. Now, before I pop these in, I just took removed and bent over the edge of the tubular tape, and I've done it on both sides. And what then that allows me is to simply start to carefully pull and remove that all the way around, and that's gluing in our tube, or seating our tubular tyre nicely. Try not to just tear this straight off, because it can fail a little bit if you're not careful, which is why we started from the other edge as well. So if this snaps or tears, I can just start from the other side. And in fact, look, that one there is starting to tear there, so we'll go around the other side and carry it on. Okay, so that's now on there. The next thing we do, the last part of the operation, is we want to pump this up to get it seated nicely. We want to take this up to about 140 psi, nice and high, to get it really sat on. And that's now pumped up there to 140. That'll get that to seat in there really nicely. Now, I wouldn't ride this at 140. On a tubular tyre like this, on regular condition ride, I'm an 80 psi kind of guy. That's where I'll have this. If it's wet, and I need a bit more grip to be a bit more sure-footed, I'm going to drop that to 70, 75. And it's a beautiful sunny day and I feel like I can really go for it, I'm going to go upwards of 90. But you know, it's not the 1980s anymore. I'm not running these at 120, 130 psi, because A, it's not really any faster, and B, oh, that hurts. So to get swapping this 80mm stem now for a 120, I'm not going to completely strip the front down. All I'm going to do is take this side off. I'm going to get the shifter off, the tape off, and then I'm just going to undo that and then slide it on out and then pop it all back together. There's no need to fully disassemble. Getting these off, they're actually held by a little 5mm Allen key on the shifters here on a Campagnolo Record 9. So you undo that bolt there and it allows you to remove it. So we're going to get this all stripped back now. Well, of course, that didn't go according to plan. I ended up having to strip the whole lot off, undo all of the cables, remove the whole lot to be able to get the new stem around quite a tight bend in the bars. But we're done now, so I can now go ahead and start reassembling the front end. That's the wheels back on. Now, because I had the stem off and the whole front end off and all the cables undone, I've got to go through, just check my clearances on the brakes. The tyres fit in nicely, we're all good there. And I've got to re-index the derailleur at the back. If you remember, I only had 5 or 6 of the gears originally working. I've sorted that out. It was all down to this little bit here. They were lacking a stepped ferrule. That's the little bit that goes at the end of the cable housing, but sometimes I have a little step that sits inside and keeps things all nice and tidy. And that didn't have one, so it pulled through and all gone a bit wrong. So I've put a step ferrule on there. Hopefully now I'm going to get some gears back. But we've got a micro adjuster on the back here, so we're just going to give it a go and see what happens. Nice, that's working well, and does its party piece of dropping loads of gears if you keep your thumb down on the down chain. So now we've got the bike back together, there's one last thing to do, and that is to set and check my reach and stack. Now, if you don't know what your reach and stack is, it's a measurement from just back from the nose of the saddle to the bottom, to the center of the crank. And also I like to take my measurement from the hood here. It's a definitive position. Don't bother going from the stem or anything, some people do, but bars are always different depending on the make and type of bar. So I go from the hood to there. Now, I'm a 78 kind of guy. I've used this on a lot of bikes. As a general setup, it works great. Obviously, it doesn't take into account crank length. They do vary. If you've got some short, sprinty 165 cranks, you'll need to adjust. If you've got an enormous Sean Yates-esque 168, 170 crank, then you need to take that into account as well. But you won't really know that until you ride it. This one here, I know straight away, is 78, perfect on the stack. And on my reach, I'm just going to straighten the bars up, come back from there. Yep, it's about 78, give or take. So I'm pretty much there at the moment. I know how this bike's roughly going to fit me, so it's set up, ready and waiting to go. I'm bound to make a few tweaks. I do like about a 3-degree slope on the saddle. That works for me as well. Again, it's what works for you. If you can't figure out your reach and stack, then you probably do need a professional bike fit, which I highly recommend. Professional bike fits will save your knees, save your back, stop your hand going numb, all of those kind of things. So I would highly recommend a professional bike fit if you don't know what your reach and stack is and how you like to set a bike up to be comfortable. But this one's now ready to go. It's winter, it's not going anywhere for the moment. I'm going to wait until the spring to take this out there. We'll come back, we'll do a on-the-road ride video to see how this goes when I really put it through its paces. I can't wait for that one. Do like and subscribe for anything to do with vintage bikes and rides. I hope you enjoyed that video. Thanks a lot. See you soon.